My lawyer wrote, "Call me immediately." Then he revealed a dark secret about my parents. One night, I received a message from my lawyer, "Call me immediately." I thought it was about money or inheritance, but instead, he revealed a dark secret my parents have been hiding my whole life. From that moment, everything I knew about my family and about myself shattered forever. It was an ordinary Thursday afternoon when my phone buzzed with a notification. I glanced at the screen, expecting another useless promotional email or a reminder about bills. But instead, I froze. The message was short, urgent, and terrifying in its simplicity. "Call me immediately. Daniel, your lawyer." My lawyer never used that tone. Daniel usually phrased things formally, cautiously, almost annoyingly precise with his words. This message was raw, almost panicked. My heart raced. I dialed his number with trembling hands. "Daniel? What's going on?" I demanded as soon as he picked up. There was silence on the other end, just his heavy breathing. Finally, he spoke. "Alex, we need to meet. Face to face. This isn't something I can discuss over the phone." "Daniel, you're scaring me," I snapped. "What is this about? Did something happen with my parents? With their estate?" Another pause. Then, in a low voice, he replied, "Your parents, they weren't who you thought they were." The line went dead. 2 hours later, I sat across from Daniel in his office. Papers were spread across his desk, some yellowed with age, others fresh from the printer. His usually composed face was pale, his eyes darting to the door as if he expected someone to burst in. "Start talking," I said firmly, though my throat was dry. He sighed. "Alex, you deserve the truth. But once I tell you, your life will never be the same again." I leaned forward. "Tell me." Daniel opened a folder and slid a document toward me. It was a birth certificate, but not the one I had seen all my life. My name was there, but under parents, the names were strangers. "What is this?" I whispered. "It's your real birth record," he said. "Your parents, the ones who raised you, they weren't your biological parents. They took you." I felt the blood drain from my face. "That's impossible. You're saying I was kidnapped?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Not exactly kidnapped, but..." The word struck me like a physical blow. "You're lying," I hissed. "My parents would never." But he cut me off, sliding another document across the desk. This time, it was a signed agreement dated over 25 years ago. A sum of money. 2 signatures. "They purchased you from someone who wanted to get rid of you," Daniel said grimly. I pushed back from the desk, shaking my head violently. No, this is insane. My parents loved me. They raised me. They couldn't have." Daniel's eyes met mine, cold and certain. "Alex, I wish it weren't true. But this is only the beginning. There's more, so much more. You don't know." And in that moment, my world shattered. I sat frozen in Daniel's office chair, my hands gripping the armrest so tightly my knuckles turned white. The documents lay on the desk like silent bombs, each word a reminder that my entire life might be a carefully constructed lie. Finally, I forced out a whisper. Why are you telling me this now? Why not years ago?" Daniel rubbed his temples. "Because your so-called parents made me swear to keep it quiet until certain conditions were met." "Conditions?" I shot back. "What conditions?" His gaze darkened. "Their deaths." The words cut deep. My parents had both passed away only 2 months earlier. An unexpected car accident on a rainy night. I was still mourning them, still replaying the last conversation I'd had with my mother, the last time my father had smiled at me. "You're saying they died, and that freed you to tell me?" I asked. "Yes," Daniel admitted, his voice heavy. "I had no legal or ethical right to reveal this while they lived. But now, Alex, you deserve the truth. You need it." I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, trying to breathe. My parents, no, the people I thought were my parents, were gone. And now, I was being told they weren't even mine to begin with. Who were they? I demanded. Who are my real parents? Daniel hesitated, shuffling through the papers. "Your biological mother's name was Margaret Hayes. At least, that's what she went by at the time. As for your biological father," he shook his head. "That's where things get complicated." My pulse quickened. "Complicated how?" Daniel slid another folder toward me. Inside was a faded photograph of a woman holding a baby, me, apparently. She looked young, exhausted, her eyes hollow but strangely determined. "That's Margaret," Daniel said quietly. "She gave birth to you in a private clinic. 3 days later, she disappeared. No trace. No forwarding address. Nothing. I stared at the picture, searching her face for something familiar. A curve of the jawline, a flicker in the eyes, anything that tied me to her. But all I felt was emptiness. And my father? I pressed. Daniel exhaled slowly. Your mother never named him on any official record. But there are rumors. Rumors? I snapped. That's all you've got. His voice lowered, cautious. There are whispers he was a dangerous man. Someone with powerful enemies. Someone your mother was running from. That's why she gave you up. Or sold you, depending on how you look at it. The room seemed to tilt. My father might have been a criminal, a fugitive, a monster. I stood up, pacing. So, my parents bought me to what? Protect me? Or because they couldn't have kids of their own? Daniel didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled out one last envelope, sealed with red wax. Your mother, your adoptive mother, left this for you. She wanted me to give it to you once you knew the truth. My hands trembled as I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. The handwriting was hers, delicate and familiar. My dearest Alex, if you're reading this, then the truth has been revealed, and I'm no longer by your side. Please know, everything we did out of love. We couldn't bear to see you lost in a cruel world. Yes, we paid for you, but not to own you, to save you. There are things about your birth family you cannot yet understand, things that could put you in danger even now. Protect yourself. Trust no one. Love, Mom. Tears blur my vision. I crush the letter against my chest, my whole body trembling. Danger? I muttered. What danger? What could possibly? A sudden crash outside Daniel's office window made us both jump. A shadow flickered past the glass. Daniel leapt to his feet, rushing to the blinds. But when he pulled them back, the street below was empty. He turned to me, his face pale. Alex, I think someone knows you've started asking questions. And just like that, my grief twisted into fear. Daniel quickly pulled the blinds shut and locked the office door. His calm lawyer's demeanor had vanished, replaced by a nervous edge I'd never seen in him before. Daniel, I said, my voice trembling, what the hell is going on? You're acting like we're being watched. He turned to me, lowering his voice. We are being watched, Alex. Don't you understand? The moment I showed you those papers, you became a target. Target? I scoffed, though my chest tightened. Target of who? He shook his head. I don't know exactly, but if your biological father was who I think he was, there are people who won't want you digging into the past. I swallowed hard, my thoughts spinning. A father I'd never met. A mother who vanished. Parents who lied to me my entire life. And now, mysterious enemies? It felt like I'd stepped into a movie. Only the fear coursing through me was all too real. I sat back down, burying my face in my hands. What am I supposed to do? Daniel's voice softened. First, you need to lay low. No sudden moves, no digging around on your own. Let me handle the legal side. And Alex, tell no one, not even your closest friends. I looked up sharply. Why not? Because you don't know who you can trust. The people after you could already be close. And if they find out you're asking questions, they won't hesitate to silence you. A chill ran through me. That night, I couldn't sleep. The letter from my adoptive mother replayed in my mind on a loop. Protect yourself. Trust no one. Around midnight, I heard it. The faint sound of gravel crunching outside my window. I lived in a quiet neighborhood, and at that hour, no one should have been there. I crept toward the curtain and peered outside. A black car sat idling across the street, its headlights off. Inside, I could barely make out a figure in the driver's seat, staring straight at my house. My stomach dropped. The engine suddenly revved, and the car sped away into the night, leaving only silence behind. I grabbed my phone and called Daniel immediately. He answered on the second ring, his voice groggy. Alex, what's wrong? There's a car outside. I whispered, just sitting there, watching. Then it drove off. He cursed under his breath. They know already. Listen to me, carefully, pack a bag, and come stay at my place tomorrow. You can't stay alone right now. Daniel, this is insane, I whispered, pacing. Who are they? I told you, I don't know for sure. But until we figure out, you need to stay safe. And Alex, don't talk to anyone about this. Not even family. I don't have any family left, I muttered bitterly. There was a pause on the line. Then Daniel said something that made my blood run cold. That's not true. You might have more family than you realize. The next morning, I met Daniel again at his office. He looked even more exhausted than the night before, dark circles under his eyes. He handed me a file, thinner than the others. I managed to track something overnight. A lead. Margaret, your biological mother, had a sister. At least, the record suggests so. Her name was Evelyn Hayes. Current whereabouts, unknown. A sister, I repeated, stunned. You're saying I might have an aunt? Possibly. If she's alive, she might know the truth about your parents and why you were sold. I clutched the file tightly. Then I need to find her. Daniel's eyes narrowed. No, Alex. That's exactly what they'll expect you to do. You go sniffing around, and you'll lead danger straight to her or straight back to yourself. But I shook my head firmly. I've lived my whole life believing a lie. I can't just sit around hiding while strangers watch me from cars. I need answers. Daniel slammed his hand on the desk, startling me. And answers might get you killed. The room went quiet. His voice dropped. Alex, you don't understand how serious this is. If your biological father was connected to organized crime, or if Margaret crossed the wrong people, then every step you take could be watched. I met his eyes, my voice steady. Then they're already watching me, which means hiding won't change anything. Daniel rubbed his forehead, defeated. You sound just like your mother. That stopped me. My mother? You knew her? He froze, realizing he had said too much. You said you only knew of her, I pressed. But you just admitted you knew her. Daniel looked away. Alex, there are things about your past I haven't told you yet. Things that connect me to your mother. But once I reveal them, there's no going back. I leaned across the desk, my heart pounding. Then tell me everything. Daniel hesitated for a long moment, then finally whispered, your mother didn't vanish after she gave you up. She came back, years later, and she came to me. My whole body went cold. I leaned closer across Daniel's desk, staring him down. You'd better explain that right now. You said she vanished. You said she disappeared after giving me away. Now you're telling me she came back? Which one is it, Daniel? He rubbed his jaw, avoiding my eyes. It's both. She vanished for years, yes. But about 10 years ago, she resurfaced. She contacted me. My chest tightened. Why didn't you ever tell me this? His face hardened. Because she begged me not to. She was desperate, terrified. She claimed she was being hunted. She said, coming to me was her last chance to protect you. I gripped the edge of the desk. Protect me from what? Daniel's voice lowered, steady but grim. From her biological father. The air seemed to leave the room. My stomach twisted. You mean the man you said might be dangerous? The one she was running from? Yes, he admitted. She told me he had ties to organized crime. He wasn't just dangerous. He was ruthless. According to her, he'd stop at nothing to track her down. And if he ever found out about you, he'd use you as leverage. I stumbled back into the chair, trying to breathe. So you're saying my father is still alive? Daniel hesitated. That, I don't know. Margaret never said whether he was dead or alive. She only warned me that his influence stretched far. That even if he was gone, his enemies and his allies alike might come for you. I buried my face in my hands. This is insane. All of it. And you just kept this from me for 10 years. Daniel's voice broke. Alex, you were just a teenager when she came back. You wouldn't have been able to handle it. And she swore me to secrecy. She said telling you too soon would destroy you. Maybe she was right. I shot him a glare. Destroy me? Look at me now, Daniel. You think I'm not destroyed already? The silence between us was heavy, broken only by the sound of my ragged breathing. Finally, I whispered, what happened to her? What happened to Margaret after she came to you? Daniel's eyes clouded with something I couldn't name. Guilt, maybe even grief. She disappeared again. One night she came to my office, shoved a folder into my hands, and begged me to hold on to it. She said it contained proof. Proof of everything. Then she left. That was the last time I ever saw her. My pulse hammered in my ears. Where's the folder now? He opened a drawer slowly, pulling out a thick envelope sealed with brittle tape. He laid it on the desk like it weighed 100 pounds. This is it. I've kept it hidden all these years. My hand shook as I tore open the seal. Inside were newspaper clippings, photographs, and handwritten notes. The photos were grainy, most taken from a distance. One showed a tall man in a dark suit shaking hands with another man outside a casino. Another showed the same man in a hospital corridor, his face turned away, but his posture commanding, menacing. Is that him? I asked, my voice barely audible. Daniel nodded. That's who Margaret claimed was your father. His name was Richard Kane, but he went by other names too, aliases, covers. He was a ghost, hard to pin down. Some said he was a businessman. Others whispered he was a crime boss. The truth probably lies somewhere in between. I stare at the picture until the edges blurred. Richard Kane. I repeated, the name burning into me. Daniel leaned forward. Alex, you need to understand. If anyone out there suspects you're his child, they'll see you as a threat. Or worse, a bargaining chip. That's why Margaret warned me. That's why your adoptive parents try to shield you. I swallowed hard, my voice cracking. So all of this, the watching, the car outside my house, it's because of him? Most likely, Daniel said grimly. The past is stirring again, and you're caught right in the middle. Suddenly, his phone buzzed violently on the desk. He glanced at the screen and froze. What is it? I asked. He hesitated before turning the phone toward me. An unknown number had sent a single message. Stop digging, or the boy pays the price. I felt the blood drain from my face. My voice cracked. The boy? What boy? Daniel's jaw tightened. Alex, they mean you. The message on Daniel's phone burned into my vision. Stop digging, or the boy pays the price. I couldn't breathe. My skin prickled as if invisible eyes were crawling over me. They know. I whispered. They know I've seen the files. Daniel locked the phone, his jaw set. We have to move. Right now. Move where? I stammered. If they can find me here, they can find me anywhere. That's why we need to be unpredictable, he said, already shoving papers into his briefcase. I'll drive you somewhere safe. A friend owes me a favor, remote, off the grid. But before we could leave, there's a loud bang on the front door of the office. Both of us froze. Another bang, heavier this time. Then a voice, deep and commanding. Open up. Police. Daniel's eyes narrowed. That's not the police. I swallowed hard. How do you know? Because real police don't demand entry like that without a warrant. And because I know the sound of men who aren't afraid to lie. The banging grew louder, rattling the door on its hinges. Daniel grabbed my arm and yanked me toward the back exit. Come on, now. We sprinted through the narrow hallway, the walls vibrating with every slam against the front door. Just as Daniel pushed the rear door open, I heard the front lock shatter. Heavy boots pounded into the office. Go, Alex, Daniel hissed. We burst out into the alley. The cold air hit me like a slap, but we didn't stop. Daniel's car was parked at the far end. We sprinted toward it, but a shout behind us made my blood run cold. There! Stop them! Two men in dark coats spilled into the alley, their footsteps thunderous. Daniel! I cried. Keep running, he barked, fumbling with his keys. The car doors unlocked with a beep. We dove inside, Daniel slamming the driver's door shut just as the men closed in. One of them reached for his jacket, and I didn't need to see the weapon to know what he was grabbing. Buckle up, Daniel shouted. The tires screamed as he floored the accelerator. The car shot forward, barely missing the two men as they lunged. In the rearview mirror, I saw one of them pull out a pistol and raise it. A gunshot cracked through the air. The rear window shattered, glass spraying across the back seat. I ducked down, covering my head, heart hammering. Are they following us? I yelled. Daniel's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. They will be. Sure enough, headlights flared in the distance, a black SUV pulling out of the alley and accelerating fast. Hold on, Daniel muttered. We tore through the city streets, weaving between cars, ignoring red lights. My stomach churned with every sharp turn, but fear kept me glued to my seat. The SUV stayed close, relentless. They're not letting up, I shouted. They won't. Not until they've got you. Suddenly, Daniel swerved into a side street, then another, zigzagging through narrow roads. For a moment, the SUV was gone from the mirror. But then it appeared again, cutting across traffic like a predator locked on a prey. I clenched my fists. They're going to kill us, aren't they? Daniel's eyes flicked to me, firm and steady. Not if I can help it. He slammed the brakes, jerking the wheel hard. The car skidded, tires screaming, and we slid into a dark underpass. The SUV shot past the intersection, unable to stop in time. Did we lose them? I whispered. Not for long, Daniel said grimly. But it'll buy us a few minutes. My hands shook as I stared out the cracked back window. This is insane. They're trying to kill me. Why? I didn't ask for any of this. Daniel's voice softened. I know, Alex, but your bloodline has enemies. And now, they've decided you're a threat. We drove in silence for a while, the city lights giving way to quieter, darker streets. Finally, Daniel pulled into the driveway of an abandoned-looking cabin on the outskirts of town. "This will do for tonight," he said. "We'll rest, then figure out our next move." I climbed out of the car on shaky legs. My ears still rang with the echo of the gunshot. Every shadow seemed alive, every rustle of wind like footsteps approaching. Inside, the cabin smelled of dust and wood rot, but it was shelter. Daniel bolted the door and drew the curtains tight. I slumped into a chair, running my hands through my hair. "Daniel, what if they find us here?" He crouched in front of me, his expression deadly serious. "Then we fight. But until that happens, you need to keep your head clear. Tomorrow, we start looking for Evelyn Hayes. If anyone knows how to end this, it's her." I nodded weakly, though dread coiled in my stomach. But just as I began to calm, there was a faint sound outside, gravel crunching. I froze. Daniel heard it too. His eyes shot to mine. Someone was out there. The cabin was silent except for the faint rustle of leaves outside. Daniel held a finger to his lips, signaling me not to move. My heart thudded so loudly in my chest, I was sure whoever was outside could hear it. Slowly, Daniel reached into his briefcase and pulled out a small handgun. He checked the chamber with steady hands, though I noticed a tremor in his fingers. "Stay behind me," he whispered. I swallowed hard and nodded. The sound came again, gravel crunching under deliberate, heavy steps. Whoever it was, they weren't trying to hide their presence. Then came the knock. Slow. 3 times. Daniel aimed his gun at the door. "Who's there?" No answer. Instead, a voice seeped through the wood, calm, deep, almost mocking. "Alexander Kane." The name struck me like lightning. My chest tightened. "Kane," I whispered, barely audible. Daniel glanced at me sharply. "Don't respond." The voice came again, smoother this time. "You've grown. You probably don't even know me. But I know you." "Oh, I know you very well." I shivered. My blood felt like ice. The door handle rattled, slowly at first, then harder. Daniel raised the gun higher. "One more move and I shoot," he barked. A low chuckle echoed from the other side. "Relax, counselor. I didn't come here for you. I came for him." Daniel's jaw clenched. "Over my dead body." The chuckle stopped. Then, without warning, the window beside the door shattered. A gloved hand reached through, unlocking the bolt from inside. "Back!" Daniel shouted, grabbing my arm and dragging me behind him. The door swung open with a groan. A tall man stepped inside, dressed in black from head to toe. His face was partly hidden beneath a hood, but I could see his jawline, sharp and cold, and his eyes, piercing, calculating. He raised his hands slightly, as if mocking surrender. "No need for violence. I only came to talk." Daniel didn't lower the gun. "Say one more word and I put a bullet between your eyes." The intruder smirked. "Such hostility. I suppose Margaret warned you I'd come one day, didn't she?" At the sound of my mother's name, my breath hitched. "You knew her?" I blurted before I could stop myself. The man's eyes shifted to me, and for a moment, I swore there was something almost familiar in his gaze. "Knew her," he repeated softly. "Boy, I loved her. More than anything. But she betrayed me. And she betrayed you." My knees weakened. "Who are you?" I demanded. He took a step closer, ignoring Daniel's gun. His voice was low, steady. "I am Richard Kane, your father." The room spun. My ears rang with his words. I wanted to deny it, scream it wasn't true, but something inside me recognized him. The same sharpness in his eyes as in mine, the same tension in the jawline. "You're lying," I whispered. "You can't be." "Oh, but I am," Kane said calmly. "And everything you've been told, every file, every letter, it's all poison. Margaret twisted the truth. She made me into a monster in your eyes. But she never told you why." Daniel tightened his grip on the gun. "Alex, don't listen to him. He's manipulating you." Kane ignored him, his gaze locked on me. "Did she ever tell you why she sold you? Why she gave you away to strangers?" "No, of course she didn't. She wanted you to hate me. But the truth, Alex, the truth is far uglier." I shook my head, backing away. "No, stop." But Kane stepped forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "She didn't sell you to save you. She sold you to save herself." Silence filled the room. My breath caught in my throat. Daniel suddenly fired a warning shot into the floorboards, the sound deafening in the cabin. "Enough. You're not taking him." Kane's expression darkened, but instead of lunging, he smiled faintly. "Not tonight, but you can't hide him forever. He has my blood. That means sooner or later, he belongs to me." With that, he backed out of the doorway into the night. His figure melted into the shadows, leaving behind only the shattered glass and the echo of his words. Daniel lowered the gun, his hands trembling now. "We have to get out of here." If that really was Kane, "Alex, this is worse than I thought." I stood frozen, my mind in chaos. The man who broke into the cabin, the man who claimed to be my father, he wasn't just a shadow in old photographs anymore. He was real, and he wanted me. The night after Richard Kane's intrusion was the longest of my life. I didn't sleep. Every creak of the cabin's old wood made me flinch. Every gust of wind outside felt like footsteps returning. Daniel sat at the table, staring into nothing, the gun resting near his hand. His face was pale, older than I had ever seen it. Finally, he spoke. "We can't stay here. He'll come back." I nodded numbly, still replaying Kane's words in my mind. "She didn't sell you to save you. She sold you to save herself." It gnawed at me. Could my mother, Margaret, really have betrayed me like that? "Daniel," I whispered, "is it possible that he was telling the truth?" His eyes snapped to mine sharp. "Don't let him get in your head. That's what he does. He twists truth into poison." "But what if there's more to the story?" I pressed. "What if Margaret did save herself?" Daniel sighed, rubbing his temples. "There's one last piece of the puzzle I've kept from you. I didn't want to show you until I was sure you were ready. But after last night, you need to see it." He pulled out the folder Margaret had left with him years ago. I thought I'd seen everything inside, but Daniel opened a hidden flap at the back. Tucked inside was a sealed envelope, brittle with age. On the front was scrawled, "For Alex, when he's ready." My breath caught. My hands trembled as I tore it open. Inside was a letter, written in Margaret's hurried handwriting. "My dearest son, if you are reading this, then fate has brought you to the edge of truth. Richard Kane is your father, yes, but he is not a man who loves. He is a man who owns. When I carried you, he swore you would belong to him, that he would shape you into his heir. He wanted to use you as a tool, a weapon in his empire. I could not allow that, so I ran. And when I realized I could not protect you alone, I did the only thing I could. I gave you to a family who would love you as their own. Yes, I took their money. I needed it to disappear, to survive. But Alex, never believe I abandoned you out of selfishness. I abandoned you to give you a chance at a life free of his shadow. If he has found you now, remember this. You are not him. You never were, and you never will be. With love, always, your mother." By the time I finished reading, tears blurred the words. My throat ached. She did it for me, I whispered. Daniel nodded softly. "Yes, Margaret wasn't perfect. She was scared, desperate, but she loved you enough to let you go." I sank into the chair, clutching the letter like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. For the first time, the weight of who I was and who I wasn't settled on me. But before I could breathe, the cabin lights flickered. Then, darkness. Daniel stiffened, reaching for the gun. "He's back." The door creaked open, and Richard Kane stepped inside. No hood this time. His face was fully visible. Hard lines, gray at the temples, eyes like steel. "You read her letter, didn't you?" he said. His voice was calm, but underneath it throbbed with anger. "Margaret's lies." I stood, fists clenched. They weren't lies. She gave me a choice. She gave me a life. Something you never would have. Kane's gaze locked onto me. "You think you know the truth? You think she was noble? She stole you from me, Alex. You're my blood, my heir, and I will not let you slip away again." Daniel raised the gun. "Take one more step, and I'll end this right here." Kane smirked. "You won't shoot me. You know killing me won't erase who he is." I took a shaky breath and stepped forward. "You're wrong. Who I am isn't your decision. It never was. I don't belong to you." For a moment, Kane's eyes softened, almost proud, almost wounded. They hardened again, defiant, just like her. The tension hung in the air like a storm ready to break. Then Kane slowly backed toward the door. "This isn't over," he said. "One day, you'll realize you can't run from your blood." And with that, he vanished into the night, leaving us shaken but alive. At dawn, Daniel and I left the cabin. The sun rose, painting the sky gold, but the shadow of Richard Kane lingered inside me. I held my mother's letter close, the words echoing in my mind. "You are not him. You never were, and you never will be." Maybe Kane was right. Maybe blood tied us. But love, the love my adoptive parents gave me, the love my mother sacrificed everything for, that was stronger. For the first time, I wasn't afraid. The past had hunted me, but now I knew the truth. and I was ready to fight for my future.